Preston, president of Over Parkinsons, and today, in conjunction with our Pop Profile series, we're talking with Henry Clifford here, CEO and founder of Livewire. Henry, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, Margaret, great to be with you.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about Livewire and what you all do here in Richmond.
Sure, yeah, Livewire's been around for around 20 years in Richmond, and the origins of the company really go back to the early 2000s, where I bought a house and looked around for somebody to come and simplify technology in the home. I've always loved technology, and at the time, I got a guy on the phone who wouldn't talk to me unless I had $100,000 to spend. And then I found another guy who came out and uh, just kind of scared my wife. And so I said, maybe there's a room here to take more of a professional services approach to technology in the home. And so that became the beginnings of Livewire. I've always loved technology growing up,
Mhm.
and I worked in IT during the 90s. So Livewire became just a natural outcropping of that. And so that's what we've been doing ever since, just growing and changing every 18 months.
Yeah, naturally so with technology. So since 2001, I understand you've had many successes. Can you elaborate and share with our listeners some of the successes you guys have experienced?
Yeah, and a lot of successes and a lot of challenges as
Yeah,
well.
of
But
course.
sure, yeah, we'll talk about the good times. Sure. So we've starting in around 2011, we started acquiring competitors. So we've acquired five local competitors, and that's allowed us to grow to be now the largest home technology provider in Central Virginia. And we have a design center and a combination office, warehouse, training facility in very eastern Henrico, right on the Henrico Richmond line over by Willow Lawn. And we've been fortunate too to do things like make the Inc. 5000 list, the CE Pro 100 list, which is a list of top revenue integrators in the country, and then also the RVA 25, which is a list of the 25 fastest growing companies in Richmond. And I've also I like to volunteer, so I try to give back, and I've served on the board of our trade association, which is called CEDIA, for a couple years. So and we've also had a few I'd call them offspring companies, where we identified a pain point where we were frustrated with the way we were delivering service to our customers. And so we actually started a sister company called Parasol, where we handle customer support 24/7, 365, very similar to the way OnStar does.
Mhm.
Uh, and we also saw another pain point in training in our industry. So we started a training company called Integrate You, where we train new installers into our industry from all over the country, online and in person.
That's fantastic. So, tell me, as CEO and founder, I have an understanding that you are hands-on and really integrated in the day-to-day operations of Livewire. So, tell me a little bit about your day-to-day and how you facilitate those day-to-day operations.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it's a lot of it's stream of consciousness. Yeah, I have a degree in journalism from the University of Maryland. I don't have an MBA. Have learned mostly through making mistakes, and but over the years, I've done all the jobs in the company poorly, and so I know how the jobs are supposed to go, and
Mhm.
I know how to do them badly. So I think it makes me well suited to identify when somebody else is doing it like I'm doing it. Then I know that, hey, we need to improve. So I've been fortunate to to say, hey, let's get some people here around
Mhm.
around around the team
Yeah.
who are super smart, super capable. So I'm very fortunate to work with some amazing people, and my main responsibility is walking around and talking to these folks, thanking them and saying, hey, what can I do to make your life easier? What obstacles are in your way? How can I how can I help you advance the ball down the field? What's in your way? So that's my version of hands-on, is not necessarily hiring smart people so I could tell them what to do, but hiring smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Surrounding yourself with the right people to deliver the mission, I think, is a wonderful concept and almost foolproof, right? So,
Well, yeah, yeah, it's so far so good.
yeah. Well, 20 years in, I'd say so. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how you ended up here in Richmond.
Sure. Yeah, I spent the first part of my life in the UK. My father's English. Moved to the Eastern Shore, of Maryland, in when I was around 5 years old. So I went to kindergarten. All the kids made fun of me because I had an English accent, and quickly lost it. And spent the rest of my formative years growing up to the Eastern Shore of Maryland and in Easton.
Mhm.
Went away for high school to a boys boarding school in Pennsylvania, and went to undergrad at the University of Maryland, and met my wife Liz there when we were singing a cappella together. I think Pitch Perfect.
Yeah,
That was our life in college,
yeah.
uh, but before it was cool, and ended up moving to Richmond in 1999 after undergrad, and we got married in 2002, and we've got three amazing kids. My son Will is 14 now. My daughter Quinn, she's 12, and Emily, our youngest, just turned 8, and we have a Frenchie named Pippin, and we live in Midlothian, and we love Richmond.
Wonderful. Thank you for that synopsis. So we've learned about your background, about the successes you've had at Livewire. So let's switch gears a little bit and share your connection to our world in the Parkinson's arena, and kind of what you hope to establish during this conversation.
Sure, and I just want to say what you guys are doing. Uh, Power Over Parkinson's is an amazing mission, and I found out about it through a good friend of mine, Bob Scudder, who participates in a program called Rock Steady Boxing, and he goes every week. And I've gotten to know more about Parkinson's through Bob, and it's just been humbling to sort of understand more about it through the lens of a good friend, and it just makes it much more real. I think it's like anything else. You know, it's when it's in your backyard, when it's something that you're watching one of your friends go through, it just becomes very real. And so I've watched my buddy Bob, going through this with amazing resiliency and grace and strength.
Mhm.
And we, me personally, and then also as a company, we like to give back to groups and causes that we believe in, and we also help out the Faison School for Autism, which is across the street from us. And again, we were impacted sort of personally, just having friends, and family who either had children with autism, etc. So Power Over Parkinson's is the same thing. It's this familiarity piece. So um, and at the same time, we've also been using technology over the last 20 years to help people live independently. And that's probably the biggest thing there, is just finding out that when we were able to help the Faison School use technology to help their folks live more independently. Same thing with Parkinson's. We learn about it, and then we understand technology. We're terrible at the medical side, but we can use technology to solve challenges. That's what we've always done. But 80-90% of our business is we're solving challenges for people who want the technology. And it's just so gratifying when it's somebody who needs it. And whether it's the VA helping wounded warriors as they're coming home from battle live more independently, or helping folks with spinal cord injuries, or helping folks with MS or Lou Gehrig's ALS, etc. Um, that's where we've said, okay, let's bring our skill set to bear here and see what we can do. And so we always come with a very simple question: how can we help?
You've dovetailed into the next question perfectly. One of the important considerations when you work with people with Parkinson's and neurological disorders is the ability to follow a multi-step process. So, how can the services at Livewire help folks with Parkinson's and other neurological diseases neutralize that challenge?
Yeah, no, that's great. One of the things I love about technology is that the technology doesn't take breaks. It doesn't really ask for time off, and so and it doesn't really need thanks for performing multiple steps.
Mhm.
I'm I'm fundamentally, I think, a pretty lazy person when it comes to completing routine activities, and my mind naturally wanders to, if I'm doing something every day and there's multiple steps to it, how could I automate this so I don't have to do these multiple steps? So technology in the home is really well suited to not necessarily, I mean, our perspective isn't, hey, how could we help somebody complete these multiple steps easily by giving them step-by-step instructions, etc. What we want to do is say, well, is there something you were doing anyway? Were you opening a door? Were you sitting down at a table? Were you going into a room? And then automating those other steps, whether it's turning on lights and adjusting the heating and cooling, or locking a door, or uh, uh, turning water on and off, turning appliances on and off, whatever that routine activity is. If there's any predictability to it or any regularity to it, 99% of the time we can automate that. So the way that we address that, hey, multiple steps, how about no multiple steps?
Yeah.
How about it just happens anyway because of something you were already doing?
Mhm. That's fantastic. Establishing efficiency for, I know, at least our community members is so important, and it's nice to hear that there's avenues for people that maybe they haven't explored. So that's fantastic. Well, what's new and exciting in your industry that our audience, particularly with Parkinson's and neurological diseases, would be excited about?
It's not necessarily new, but I'd say it's gotten to the point where everybody can relate to it. So voice might be the biggest innovation that we're seeing now get out of the way. One of my mentors used to tell me, technology, when it gets to the point where people are no longer talking about microchips or processors or using nerd terms to talk about it, it's gotten out of the way. And
Mhm.
voice control is one of those things where I think it's pretty universal now. We're all familiar with Siri and Alexa, and you know who mine's probably going to go off right now. But
Mhm.
because of that, and it works pretty well, it is so neat just to be able to walk into a room or turn the lights on and off, for example, with voice. Whereas that used to be a parlor trick.
Mhm.
Now it's very practical. It's very utilitarian. And so I like, from a new perspective, how boring some of the stuff has gotten, because we can then, as a company, support it and install it and warranty it and be there to answer phone calls about it 24/7, 365. The other pieces that we're seeing too in the kitchen, if you notice now, a lot more appliances are getting smarter. And what that means is, somebody might be watching this and saying, well, who cares? I don't need a smart appliance. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. But it is kind of cool if you could say to your dryer, hey, spin up the dry cycle again because my stuff got wrinkled last night and I just want to. It's amazing. And I'll use the analogy of pay at the pump. There was probably a time where everybody watching this or listening to this went into the gas station, walked inside, gave the credit card to the clerk, walked back outside and filled up the gas. I'm going to bet that a good portion, maybe raise your hand, now, if there's no pay at the pump, you're driving on by. Same thing with garage doors. Probably a time where you might have said, I can raise and lower my own garage door. Thank you very much. So what convenience becomes novel very quickly, but then becomes routinized, and then becomes something very quickly you can't live without. So what's new is, I feel like the stuff that's in the car, if you notice, we've got full lighting control systems in our cars. We've got full security automation systems in our cars. More of that technology now is coming into the home at a more rapid rate than it's ever done, and it's become much more reliable. So the new is reliability that wasn't possible 5 years ago, very flaky. And it's just not that way anymore, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So two follow-up statements. One's a statement, one's a question. One is voice is controlling our appliances, etc., with voice is such a wonderful thing because people with Parkinson's struggle with voice volume and strength. So it would be an added benefit for people to be able to control and utilize and exercise their voice by controlling their home and the systems in their home. So just a statement there being how helpful it would be, because it would almost be added therapy as they use their voice. The second is a question regarding the appliances. Can folks control, let's say, their dryer, whatever appliance, from their phone? Could they utilize their phone with some of these technologies?
Yeah, and that's the greatest thing now, where every 12 months or so we're all getting a new one of these things. They and if you can imagine it, you can do it
Hmm.
with your. And I'd say with home technology, there's an old adage in our industry that the good news is it can do anything,
Hmm.
and the bad news is it can do anything.
Hmm.
So when you're considering a solution, one of my mentors said, first pick who, then pick what,
Hmm.
because without the right partner or the right guide, it could be daunting
Hmm.
when you walk the aisles of a Best Buy and you could see just,
Of course.
oh, I just want to go and get a smart doorbell. There's 28 smart doorbells.
Yeah.
Which smart doorbell do I get? Well, and analysis paralysis can quickly set in. So that's sort of where I think our people like us kind of fit in, where especially for folks who put a premium on their time,
Yeah.
it can really pay off to shortcut that and get a hold of somebody who lives and breathes this stuff every day, because as we alluded to earlier, the stuff just changes
Yeah.
constantly.
Well, for just thinking about mobility issues, I think that there's such an added benefit if you can operate some of these things without necessarily having to leave your seat. So I think that would definitely be applicable to some of our community members. Um, I want to switch gears to ask you some questions that we received from our community members, some specific questions for those who have Parkinson's disease. So if we can run on through those, that would be great. So the first question is, I'm having trouble remembering multiple steps in a process. How will I be able to operate a smart house? So to me, let's say I don't have the background knowledge, thinking about managing a smart house is daunting because I just don't know what it entails and it's a little intimidating. So how can you all combat that stigma?
Yeah, yeah. We talk about the power of paper a lot, meaning once you find the who, I mean, you might decide to do this yourself, and if so, party on. There's a ton of do-it-yourself resources out there, um, and what we found is the more work that you do on paper first, doing design, and this is like anything else in life. The better the design, the better the result will be. Because you fail on paper, no big deal. It's like building a house. If you want to redraw a wall, no
Yeah.
big deal.
Hmm.
You come in and the builders frame the wall. That's a different story. So the remembering or operating the smart house, I think, starts with the right partner and then the right design, and then that right design, though, shouldn't really involve a lot of remembering multiple steps. I
Hmm.
mean, to me, remembering multiple steps would be a failure in the design process. So these shiny objects that we have, whether it's these phones or whether it's the voice assistants, think of them as nothing more than screwdrivers and wrenches, right? They're tools, and they should be used strategically and surgically to solve a challenge. So the first questions are, what are the pain points? And so talking to somebody through that, somebody who's an expert who can pull that information out, they're going to ask you, what frustrates you with technology?
Hmm.
Now, if you're like most people, right? I'm sure most of your audience members, Margaret, there's a list a mile long. So
Hmm.
there's good fertile ground for for orienting around pain points to design, but a really well designed, I mean, and so it shouldn't sound like a cop out, but a well designed system shouldn't involve a lot of multiple steps. And if there are, then things like checklists can be really helpful. A lot of times, like we'll have commercial customers where just on the wall, for example, we'll have very clearly labeled buttons. That one button does 28 things
Yeah.
with one button push. So I'd say first is a well-designed system should involve a lot of multiple steps. If you have to have multiple steps, though, I think good labeling is really the key there, and that can be done through very attractive keypads or remote controls
Mhm.
or little handheld remotes. So I hope that answers the
Yeah,
question.
it definitely does. And it sounds like through a partnership with Livewire, a customer, particularly a customer in our community, would be able to measure twice and cut once, right? Making sure it meets the goals and satisfies the goals when you only have to do it one time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, the next question we received was, I have a very simple internet and Wi Fi from my cable company. Will I have to upgrade this and spend more money?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And here's the annoying response the home technology folks will give you, and unfortunately, I'm going to give you the same one. Two words: it depends. and and it's okay, right? It does depend, and if anybody could just step back from that, right? Depending on your project,
Mhm.
if you're a sports nut and you want all the football games streaming into 28 rooms in your house,
Mhm.
you might need a beefier internet connection than somebody who just wants to sit there and write some emails. So again, it's just about sizing it. The internet connection size or the type of speed you have is merely a function or an output from that design process. So again, a good designer will then size it and say, okay, well you've got a pipe that's this big, maybe let's upgrade. Or more often than not, what we'll find is our clients are paying for a 8-lane superhighway and really all they need are 2 lanes.
Right.
So oftentimes that'll actually result in a money savings, not necessarily a bigger spend.
That's fantastic. So, moving on to the sign of the times related to COVID-19, how is Livewire responding to the times and what processes does it have in place to ensure the health and safety of the customers? So, those who are worried about having people come into our home, tell us about what processes Livewire has in place.
Well, one of them that I couldn't say a few months ago is a vaccinated workforce. So that's pretty cool, right?
That's great.
Then the other one is also we're following all of the CDC guidelines as far as PPE, as far as when possible social distancing, et cetera. So knock on wood on this. So we've been very fortunate. I think we've done a really good job with our COVID protocols. We will also call you and say, hey, how are you feeling? We're coming out today. Have you or anybody been exposed to somebody with COVID? So we're really trying to do a good job with that. We've been doing that now for over a year. I can't even believe I'm saying that,
Yeah.
but we're following the guidelines. Our folks know, hey, if they don't feel well, they shouldn't come in, and if they need to quarantine, they will. So hopefully, again, we appear to be approaching a light at the end of the tunnel, which is at this point now not a freight train coming at us. So spring is in the air for many reasons. So and I think our customers appreciate the attention that we've paid to that.
Good. So moving on, let's say we've got a customer who has decided to pull the trigger and contract with you all and streamline their house. What type of support services, if there is an issue, or if the customer simply has a question, what kind of support and ongoing maintenance and support is available to those who've contracted with you all?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have a nasty news flash for anybody with who's contemplating purchasing home technology. It will break at some point.
Oh, well.
Uh, it will. And if anybody tells you different, run
Yeah.
the other way. So with that approach, we said, well, the project or the first little body of work we do, whatever it is, whether it's a TV and a sound system or security system or video surveillance, whatever it is, that's just the beginning. Really, that's where it starts. So the aftercare, the relationship is really where we've put a lot of focus. And so what that means is 6 months down the road, when it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday night and you're going to watch your favorite show on HBO and you pick up the remote with a system like ours, we've proactively been monitoring that system. And
Mhm.
so a week earlier, we picked up that there was maybe low batteries in the remote control or that one of the components was having an issue. And we have, as I mentioned earlier, this OnStar 24/7, 365 remote support capability where we can remotely dial in and fix that system remotely. 80% of the time, we're fixing it remotely the first time. And if we have to roll a truck, we will. And our customers who are members of our aftercare support program get discounts on their service, but they can call us, email, text, chat anytime, day or night. And there are live, friendly home technology integrator professionals standing by
Mm.
to answer any of their questions. So, huge differentiator
Yeah.
for us is that we wrap our customers up in this big bear hug and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, we've got you covered." Versus the way we were probably handling it before, which is the way most of the industry handles, which is you complete the project and then you go and you pray, please don't have any issues during the
Yeah.
warranty period. Where we've reframed that completely
Mhm.
because it's technology.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I love the fact that you all are proactively monitoring things. I think that's such a testament to the customer service and you really trying to mitigate and provide the best experience for the customer and mitigate any issues before they even happen, which I think is exactly probably what our customer base or our community here at Power Over Parkinson's is looking for. So I think that's fantastic and that's a great takeaway. Um, Tell me what another question what we received. It reads, "Will I have to remember a lot of new usernames and passwords?" How we all can, we all resonate with that. So maybe I'm speaking on the greater good on that one, but that's a fantastic question. Talk to me. Do I need to remember all my username and passcodes? Am I going to get locked out of my new system?
I hope not. Um, I will say some of this we can control, and then some of this is just the life we're all living, right? You've got if you need something off of this device, right? Murphy's Law, right? If you ask me, Margaret, right now, let me pull something up, right? I mean, and look at what I do for a living. I'm a technologist.
Mhm.
I'll be locked out of something.
Yeah.
So I can't promise a silver bullet, but what we can deliver on is there are certain key passwords and things that are universal that are needed. Security passcode or Wi-Fi password. That's the classic thing, right? Imagining you've got family members coming over, your grandkids or your son or daughter's like, "Mom, what's the Wi-Fi password?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh my gosh, it's written somewhere and it's driving me nuts."
Mhm.
Here's the beautiful thing with our support aftercare program: any of those handy dandy things that you need or that you want to recall immediately, if you call us, we'll keep them on file. And we're like, "Hey, no problem, Mrs. Johnson. That's actually, here's your Wi-Fi password." So is that a silver bullet? No. Are you still going to have probably drama with usernames and passwords every once in a while? Yes. But the 80% of the password issues that you're likely to experience are taken care of because our support folks
Yeah.
will have that on file, and all you have to do is call them.
So you're not alone, I think is a good takeaway for that one.
We yeah
You're
yeah
not
we've
alone.
got your we've
Yeah.
got your back.
Definitely. That's fantastic. Well, lastly, our last question that came in from one of our community members is regarding training. So, user training. Are you available to sit with me and maybe my family who might be managing or help me managing my technology? Can you sit with me and my family and spend time training us?
Yeah, that's another great question. So our our whole philosophy around this is, again, if the project's just the beginning, we look at it as it's really about the relationship. I mean, for our customers, we're almost become members of the family a little bit, right? So with that, if we do a great job installing a system and it's pretty, the wires look nice and it's shiny, if nobody knows how to use it, what was the point? So intentionally, in all of our scopes of work, we bake in a really significant amount of time at the end, and we ask our customers. In fact, we have a whole a document called "No Surprises," where we talk about things that kind of it's a two-way street, right? Hey, you're asking us to provide this killer experience. Here's some things that we need from you to make that happen. One of those is at the end, and we'll tell you when the end is. We really need you to be available so we can sit with you, walk you through how to use the system, and then be available. Because like 30 days later, we're going to say, hey, look, you're not going to remember all this stuff we're talking about today, and we're going to leave you with documentation. But 30 days out, we're going to check in. How's it going? We're going to have little tweaks that we need to make. We expect that. That's part of it. That's part of the bear hug.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
That's great. I think what good is a system if the folks aren't trained on it, and really some of the ancillary family members and care partners. So the bear hug is necessary, and I think would be a well welcomed attribute to the system. Well, Henry, that does it for me and our questions from the community members. So we can't thank you enough for sharing more about Livewire and the services that would really be applicable to our members.
Yeah, well, it's been an honor, and if anybody's interested in learning more, they can just go to our website at getlivewire.com. There's a link at the top right. It says book appointment, and you can order us like you order a pizza.
Yeah, well, to sum that up, we will certainly provide the information on our website, and after this interview, we'll have a thumbnail with all of that information, how to get in touch with Henry and his team. So, Henry, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.